Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Distribution Strategy Group Best Practice Studies webinar, How Distributors Can Build Their AI Roadmap. In a little while, I'll be delighted to welcome Brooks Hamilton, who was one of the highest scoring speakers at our very popular recent conference, Applied AI for Distributors. So we're really excited to see what he has to teach us about how to build your AI roadmap. But before that, we got to do a little business because we got to pay the bills. So first, I'd like to welcome our good friend, Ranga Bodla at NetSuite Oracle. Ranga, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing well. It's a lovely day here in Chicago, and I'm happy to be here. It's always a pleasure to speak to the DSG audience, and we enjoyed being at the conference.
Yeah.
And just as a quick intro for those on the call that may not know NetSuite, we've been operating as a provider of business management applications. As you can see in my background, all in the cloud for the last 25 years, and we've been part of Oracle since 2016. And through that, we offer a suite of cloud-based business applications, everything from financials, inventory management, supply chain, HR. And it's all about working together, breaking down those silos within a company. And 37,000 companies around the world, distributors, manufacturers, and many hybrid businesses leverage NetSuite to run their business. And if you go to the next slide, Ian, the other big thing is we are very focused on AI as well as an organization. And we've been thinking about AI. It's not just a buzzword that we just suddenly picked up. We've been thinking about it for a number of years. And our approach is leveraging the Oracle infrastructure, which is really the one of the huge providers here in the space, has a unique AI infrastructure layer, leveraging NetSuite data, pulling that data in. The more data you use, the more powerful AI can become for you. And then lastly, the notion of the suite. You have a complete picture across your business to really leverage for AI. And, that's really what we're trying to do here. And I appreciate the opportunity to be part of this and always appreciate the partnership. So thank you, Ian.
You bet, Ranga. And by the way, I heard great things about your presentation in Chicago. So I think there's really great AI in your system from what I hear. I got COVID on the first day and missed the whole thing, but I heard great things from my business partner, Jonathan, who was at your presentation. So nice job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Next up, our good friends at Connexium, Alex Whitt-Pollock. How'd I do, Alex?
You were close. You were close. You think after 10 years you'd get it, but that's all right.
I'm sorry. So say it right.
Whitt-Pollock.
Whitt-Pollock. Ah, shoot.
Yeah.
And I even practiced before. Okay, we'll take it away. Let's talk about something more exciting than me mispronouncing your last name.
Oh, good. So I don't have a fedora like Ranga, and I was going to wear my Packers helmet here for this, but Ian said that we may lose more business than gain if I do that. So I decided not to. For those of you on the call I've not met, I'm Alex Whitt-Pollock. I'm our Vice President of Sales and Business Development for Connexium. I've been in the distribution manufacturing space for 13 years, bringing technologies to market. Connexium is an AI-powered document automation platform, and we believe we're solving one of the biggest challenges that distributors face, which is manual labor challenges and order accuracy issues inside of a distribution organization. So how we do it is pretty unique, but if you go to the next slide, Ian, the value points when you talk about automating what is your lifeblood of your business, your orders, 100% order accuracy, being able to fulfill orders same day, ultimately reducing the total cost on fulfilling these orders. People usually lean in. So the question quickly comes to how can you actually do that? And so it gets complex in how we actually achieve this. But if you go to the next slide, we use AI over 100,000 algorithms now to be able to apply machine learning to any way you're getting orders today: digital documents, PDFs, sit behind EDI, to be able to deliver those into your ERP. And the outcome is what we talked about: get your humans out of a screen and into things that are going to move your distribution business forward.
Fantastic. So let's see here. This is still you.
We're good. We're good, Ian.
All right. Alex Whitt-Pollock. I finally got it at the end. Thank you so much for supporting today's webinar. I heard great things about you guys at our conference too, and I'm sorry I missed you there, but thanks for supporting today's webinar.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ian.
You betcha. Okay, now we've got Carl Prezi. Did I get it right?
You got it.
Prezi.
You got it.
So Carl's one up in everyone with the Willy Wonka neon orange top hat. Carl, thanks for coming to today's program. Why don't you jump in and tell us about HawkSearch by Bridgeline?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And marketing somehow convinced me to wear this today. So greetings, DSG Trailblazers. This is my first time here, so I got to stand out, right? But I'm Carl from HawkSearch, and as you can tell, we're going to have a little fun here in the next 90 seconds. While my ridiculous top hat may have caught your eye, it's our site search technology that will leave a lasting impression on your customers. So next slide, please. So HawkSearch offers a ton of features that helps our customers grow their business. And that's the sound of another sale from a HawkSearch derived purchase. We love ringing cowbells here. Imagine a site search solution so intuitive, it feels like it's been part of your team for years. HawkSearch isn't just a search bar, it's a mind reader for your customers' intentions with AI conceptual search, machine learning, and dynamic product recommendations that transform complicated queries into precise and consistent results and upsell opportunities. We've helped large global manufacturers and distributors increase order values and revenue with our intelligent product discovery. And if you have complex products with different dimensions and data formats, HawkSearch has some really unique features. It really becomes a universal translator, bridging those pesky units of measure with data normalization that makes finding the right product seamless and consistent. Next slide, please. Our technology really understands your customers' needs, providing spot-on recommendations and engaging users to drive conversion. So let's simplify search by boosting your hot products, bury what's not, and tune recommendations for relevance. HawkSearch is more than a search engine. It's a personal assistant to your catalog. Next slide, please. So let's turn searches into successful sales. Book a demo with us today and learn more. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Carl. And thanks to you. You supported our AI event too, so we really appreciate it. So reach out to sales@hawksearch.com for more information about this great product. And now we'll bring on one of one of the sponsors we see the most on these programs, Helen Pina. How are you today?
Hi. Good, thank you. Hello, everyone. I am, as always, very excited to be here on this webinar now that helps distributors plan out their AI roadmap. Very exciting. For those who did not know White Cup, Jesus. We've been helping distributors for over 25 years and have over 800 customers. Our integrated CRM, BI, and pricing solutions are built for distributors and also integrated with your ERP, which is really special. Our perspective is that distributors will win with a data-driven CRM because it will transform their selling for more revenue and better profits. Next slide, Ian. So with that many customers, of course, they have lots to say about our technology. They especially appreciate how it helps them take action on critical insight for their success. Next slide, Ian. That's because our technology truly helps distributors turn their data into dollars. Your entire customer-facing team has data insights and trends on your customers and products at their fingertips and the tools needed to take action on that insights. So give your customer-facing team the CRM to make faster and better decisions and automate their work as much as possible. Your reps will love it, and you'll love the revenue and profit it drives. Final slide, Ian. Yeah, so of course, we'd love to stay in touch. Reach out anytime. Here's how you can reach out to me directly and also White Cup. Thanks again.
Fantastic. And Helen, thank you also for supporting the Applied AI event. It was great having having you guys there, and we'll look forward to next year too, I hope. So thanks very much.
Absolutely.
And now I've got Brooks here. Brooks, how are you today, my friend?
I'm fantastic.
Yeah, I knew that. You're in Germany, right?
I am in Germany and taking down some schnitzel. So it won't be nap time for some time, but boy, it's good eating here.
Good for you. Awesome. So you ready to jump in?
Sure am. All right. Well, Ian and everyone, thank you all very much for having me on. I'm super excited to talk about the topic which I'm highly passionate about, which is AI and how businesses can go about using it. We'll talk about this in terms of 3 acts. So first act is this real, or is this something I don't need to worry about? Mm-hmm. This will not be a regurgitation of headlines. Second is it now? Do I need to worry about this today? How do I go about planning for it? and then this is how, which is going to be a set of suggestions about how to actually get started come Monday morning. Next slide. There's plenty of content to go through, so we're going to go at relatively high speed through this, so buckle up. Here we go. And next slide.
So it came back to this is the, so I've got your Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Is that you want me to go next? Okay, there we
Next,
go.
please.
There we go.
Okay, so what we've heard out there is a series of eye-popping numbers in terms of some of the largest tech providers on the planet that have made very significant investments in smaller AI companies. And what we saw was, some time back, Microsoft made an investment in OpenAI. And then at the beginning of the year, they had quite the hold my beer moment and invested $10 billion in OpenAI, which some analysts now are saying may have been a bit of a deal. We then saw Google make investments, and others have certainly come to the table, Amazon, Oracle, PwC. And this is really just the set of investments which we know about in other companies. We don't necessarily see what investments these large organizations are making within them to ready themselves for AI. So the question is why? Why are they going about making such large bets? And we're going to dig into that now. So let's talk about some opportunity and what both these tech firms see as well as others now. One of them is substantially improved and enhanced productivity. So there was a study conducted by Harvard, Warwick, and MIT that involved BCG consultants. So they included about 10% of their workforce and gave those consultants an objective. They separated them into test and control groups, and then asked that they perform tasks which are totally relevant for their line of work. What they discovered was those consultants who were using ChatGPT-4 absolutely blew the others out of the water in terms of productivity results. So next. And what they found more specifically was they're able to finish more tasks, so 12% more tasks. They got those tasks done more quickly, and it was not just poor work at high speed, but instead what they found was giving them access to ChatGPT-4 really leveled the playing field, and if anything, upgraded the level of quality that they experienced, that when they judge it independently was 40% higher. So if you notice, there are not just two groups, but three groups here. One was the control group that did not use ChatGPT. There were then the others that either used it and were trained or untrained, and they discovered that training or not, it didn't matter that much. They were able to very quickly come up to speed and make good use of it.
Yeah, I had this interesting experience yesterday that I talked about in the pre-call, which is that I had an MRI, which I got the results back. I didn't know what they meant. I mean, it was in medical speak, right? So I just copied and pasted the results into ChatGPT-4 and said, can you explain this to me in simpler language? And it said, sure. And what I learned is it was a really, really good result, right? So rather than waiting until today to get the interpretation from my doctor, ChatGPT explained it to me yesterday. And I completely understood it after that explanation. And I slept great last night because the result was awesome. So, I've never done that before. So I'm untrained in how to do that, but it was nonetheless a big win for me.
Yeah. It's something that we just haven't seen over the past 20, 30 years. There are a number of applications that make our lives easier and help us manage at scale. However, the productivity gains have been really more in like the 2 to 3% range for the past few decades. But now we're actually at a point where for a relatively small investment, people can make substantial improvements in their productivity. And this is before many of the vendors which some of whom we heard of in this call, are also going to be rolling out all of their AI features, which I think we're all really excited to see. So what else did they see? One was they saw productivity, but the other was big differences in AI capabilities themselves. So as a model, and I'm going to kind of use the words AI, artificial intelligence, and model a bit interchangeably here. But when the AI researchers scaled up the model, that means increased the size, the amount of time they left it to run, and the quality and size of data, what they found was the models became more and more sophisticated and capable of answering a relatively broad set of questions and completing tasks. So if we go next. And as of about 2 months ago, what we've seen is those models were able to execute really well on many of the professional and academic exams which we give out there. So it's kind of getting into law in the law frame. It's getting into law school with LSAT. It's scored at 80%. And then also is able to take a form of the bar exam and do quite well there, as well as participate in coding competitions, taking the GRE, and so on. And it didn't just pass, but it actually performed at a really high level, which was about 80% or the 80th percentile. And I think there are fairly few people out there who, one, are going to be able to perform at the 80th percentile for the LSAT, much less be able to do that on the LSAT, the GRE, the MCAT, and so on. So we're kind of in for some types of tasks. These models are at around a human range, some above, some below. But the question mark is, next slide, where do we go from here? Because it's not like we've hit an upper limit to these models in terms of size, which also means that we haven't hit an upper limit for capabilities. So what we have seen is already really impressive. But I think what we will see in the future as well is going to be quite impressive. And that means that the way in which we conduct business and the expectations that people have of how they should interact with the business are going to change. So that's what we are here to begin to plan for. And a frequent question that's asked is, wow, how do they train these models in order to pass those tests? Did they give them 1,000 of those tests? And the answer is no, they didn't. There was only one thing that they trained them for. And that was to guess the next token, or we can kind of think about it, word. So an example here is, I couldn't see in the dark room because the light was off. Not hard to figure out there.
I'm sorry, was I supposed to answer that, Brooks? I'll stay. I'll try to do better next time.
Did a great job on that anyway, Ian. Ian was off. So they use tokens instead of words in order to account for punctuation, sentence endings, symbols, and non-letter-based languages. So we go next. And as the tech companies increase these models to what were really stupendously large sizes, they encountered a number of surprises. And we're going to talk about some of those today before we get into the roadmap. One of the items which they uncovered was it's called emergent behavior. And really, if you have seen a flock of birds, a school of fish, you see it kind of behave as if all of these individual organisms are somewhat acting like they're a single organism. Well, that's not planned by each of those organisms. They're just responding to some really simple rules. And what we see there, as they're forming these groups and shapes, that's just an emergent property that we're observing. Well, we also see emergent behavior. Go next. In, oh, looks like we have something maybe a little out of order. You can go next, please.
Sure.
What we see is,
You want to go to this one?
no, if we can just go
Okay,
forward.
got it.
Great. What we see is that these applications or these models are not just learning facts, or learning just how to complete a sentence. But if you think about what it takes to learn what comes next in a sentence, understanding the context of the sentence and the passage really make a huge difference. So these models, in order to increase their accuracy of guessing that next word, have learned relationships and concepts. And as they've scaled up the size of the model, or also the training time, then the accuracy is increased, as well as the depth of understanding of those relationships. We'll go next, please. So Google in particular, where a lot of this research has been done, set out to study this in particular. And once they were beginning to train their largest model, which is called Palm, this is what powers the Bard chatbot that Google has. What they saw when it was at 8 billion parameters, and we kind of think of a parameter as that's a knob that can be tuned in order to get the right answer. It had a basic understanding of language. It could do some really simple arithmetic, like adding two single-digit numbers together and then answering questions that it was asked. But then as they began scaling it up from 8 to 62 billion parameters, it added a number of other capabilities. So it was able to translate in between human languages, and then also it could translate in between human language and the intent to create coding as well. So I can now go from English to Java, as well as English to German. It could summarize text passages and engage in some common sense reasoning, but they continued to scale it up. Next. So once it reached about 540 billion parameters, what they saw was it had a much more sophisticated range of emergent behavior capabilities. So it could make jokes, could explain jokes, could involve and create dialogue, basically write chunks of movies, go through some pattern recognition, create and use proverbs, as well as talk about events that occurred in the past and set those in the correct context. One of the kind of fun stories about this was they said, well, it's doing a good job talking about things and creating narratives, but it's really terrible at reasoning. And so an intern at Google said, well, why don't you just tell it to be good at reasoning? So they did. And the result was it was then able to reason far more effectively. And the results jumped from 18% correct answers to 82% correct answers. Just absolutely astounding difference just by including the words, think through this step by step.
Wow.
So we are living in interesting times. And there are two historic events that we have the opportunity to bear witness to. One is we have determined how to arrange minerals and run energy through them, run electricity through it, and as a result, create artifacts which can learn and are intelligent. And I don't think there's any kind of getting around that these are intelligent learning objects now. The second is we're beginning to learn about the laws of intelligence. So physics a few hundred years ago during the rise of Newtonian physics. And really during that time in general, we were finding reductionist algorithms to determine how a lot of these natural phenomena occurred within the physical world. But we've never been able to really crack how these functions work in the mental world or the cognitive world really until now, that we're able to size things specific ways and then control the environment very specifically. Now we are beginning to see these laws of intelligence come about and clarify. So it's quite exciting. So let's talk about what's going on now. Why jump on this and pay attention to it? There are a few key assumptions in here. One is that the primary engineering work and theory work is done. There's a lot to go do, but even if not another piece of research is conducted, we will still be able to apply what we've already learned and already worked through just to new use cases, new data, and this is already off to the races. The horse has indeed left the barn. Second is each of the tech revolutions which we've experienced have been going faster and faster. The rollout of this particular technology is unlike prior technologies, is not going to require massive new infrastructure build out in order to move through the general economy. And that basically each piece of the AI technical stack is both mutually reinforcing, and any improvement in one might mean the kind of general improvement of all of them. And we'll kind of get into that in a bit. Finally is the limiter of this will not be the technology side. That is already pretty well understood. The real limiter to it is going to be uneven transformation of the processes and organizational structures that we have in order to take advantage of this general technology, which can be applied to productivity as well as revenue growth. So here's a quick look at prior technology adoptions. So if we just take a quick example here, we have had air conditioning since about the turn of the century, however, of the prior century. However, it took quite some time in order for that to percolate through the general populace of the United States. So a little over, say, about 65 years to get to 25% adoption. Well, I think the most recent stats from OpenAI were that there are now 100 million active users of ChatGPT per week. And that's although it's worldwide, that means that not just with ChatGPT, but the other chatbots out there and other technology tools, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary. So I think it's fair to say that this technology adoption has gone and will continue to go quite rapidly. If we go back to a product category, which we're all far more familiar with, that's the iPhone. And what we saw for the first iPhones, if you all remember, what I recall is that really cute clownfish that seemed to be in super high definition and just like incredible that you could actually have a phone that did this. Well, looking back, that resolution was 320 by 480. We're now, and this is not even the 15, this is the 14, at something closer to 1290 by 2796. So just totally different world. And back then it had no third-party apps. It was one camera, and you couldn't even copy paste. Whereas now, certainly way more advanced tool, battery that actually works through either all of or most of the day, And so what we saw was from the first one, it's more like a production prototype. Similarly, what we see out of OpenAI and many of these other companies are that these are very early versions of this capability set that's coming out, but this isn't the be all end all. So when we
I have a question for you, Brooks. So
Sure.
if you're trying to anticipate or develop your 5-year strategy and incorporate AI into it, you have to have some projection as to what it'll be capable of in 5 years. And that's really hard. How do you go about that?
I think it's much more about not just figuring out which technologies you want to bet on, but I feel like the more important thing to do now is to build the capabilities as an organization, both to adopt technologies and then to transform your processes and org structure to take advantage of them, because no one knows what this is going to look like, I would say, in
Right.
2 years versus 5 years.
Yeah, it's hard. It's harder than ever, even compared to digital technologies, right?
Yeah. So just in terms of, core tech, the algorithms have been known for 6 years. We've figured out how to execute the training of these very large models 4 years ago. We had a really highly capable model, which was GPT-3 was released in May of 2020, but the technology just kind of sat there. And the reason was that we didn't have a great interface. It wasn't until ChatGPT came out with the particular feature of being able to have very clearly understood interaction in between the user and the model that really blew the doors off of this technology and increased our awareness.
So we have a question, Brooks. Greg wants to know, says the graph that showed AI capability was a line graph. Are we seeing the capability of AI growing linear, or is it more exponential? When do we think it will be above human range of intellect?
Yeah. I think it's helpful to think of it at a linear form at the moment. One of the big questions in AI today is, we see an acceleration, but is that acceleration exponential, or is it more of a linear? I think we're at the slower moving part of an exponential, but we will see it shift into an exponential form soon.
And when does it achieve singularity? It's smarter than humans? Any idea? I mean, it's already smarter than humans in a lot of ways now, right?
I would actually say it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because the technology that we have today, from a results standpoint, is already going to be so impactful, that whether it's one super object or a billion little models, probably doesn't matter a ton for us as consumers of that technology.
Yeah, but I don't think you can measure that, because it's already much smarter than any human across a countless range of subjects. So does it have self-awareness? No. Does it do critical thinking? In some ways, yes, but I think you can't measure it. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. I think from a practical standpoint, it's maybe just important to think about what it may impact.
Right.
So really the point here is, when Apple and the Android producers were trying to build out smartphones, there was a ton that they had to figure out, like thousands of suppliers, packing all of that into a tiny device of all cutting edge capabilities, get these phones out to billions of people, and build an ecosystem of apps, all of which just barely existed. For AI technologies in general, and ChatGPT at least in particular, they can release whenever they want. The data is widely available. GPUs are a bit of a choke point now, but I think we'll see hardware improvements, and then it's really easy to get it out. It's on the internet. You run it on commodity servers, and you can utilize and push the capability into other applications. And this is something where you don't have to go build, 2 million apps. Instead, you can help the existing set of applications get better, as well as building new applications and companies. This may get a bit to the prior question about improvement. And the point here is we saw through the course of this year primarily a focus on language models and text. We've seen that be released by a number of organizations, both private as well as open source models. And we are now, as of this quarter, seeing these models be not just text, but also be able to search the web, create and understand images, understand speech, and I think very soon we will hear many of these models begin to interact with us at a verbal conversational layer.
Yeah, it's interesting to me if people will still teach foreign languages if you're equipped with some real-time mechanism in your glasses that it's like Star Trek converts all the languages to whatever one you need, right? And you can just walk around and speak English, and the German person hears it in German and the Italian speaker hears it in Italian. Yeah. We have another question. So Stephen wants to know, how important is it for businesses to get their internal data in order to take advantage of AI, or will we rely on public LLMs?
I think there are a lot of advantages to having well-structured data. I at least found in doing over 80 implementations of AI applications was nobody has perfect data. And it is far better to get going with what you have rather than spend 12 to 24 months trying to get everything in the right order. I would say experiment now, work on data structure and quality later, or in parallel.
Excellent.
For each of the kind of major pieces of these AI capabilities, we know that improvements in one will lead to improvements for these AI models. But what's different about this compared to most other technologies is that the models themselves can help, and AI in general can help with the other pieces. So, for example, if I need to score and try to find better data, I can have a language model go and separate out the bad from good data. We see AI being used to design better chips so that it runs faster. And we also know that you can use it in order to produce code to more quickly write applications or test them, which means that the entire virtuous cycle can move faster, which is, again, a bit of a direct benefit for both those AI applications and the companies that use them. Finally, on this part, we've seen text because we've kind of been at that for the longest and it's widely available. But I think we'll soon see many other applications come to the fore in terms of images, sound, and then really neat things like weather, space observation, and so on. So curious to see how the practice of medicine and other various scientific pursuits, as well as business pursuits and entertainment, change when you are able to have something like, hey, I would like to star in my own rom-com with name your favorite actor.
I'm not going to do that.
Yes, that
my wife might watch this. Excellent. Okay, great.
So seems like things at the moment are, there are a lot of headlines out there, a ton of buzz, but we don't necessarily see a ton of change within our companies. Yeah. But that is something if we think about it, we've not even been at this for 12 months yet in terms of the really popular generative AI. But once this Ferris wheel gets going, for those companies that are not making an investment in this area and not paying attention to it, is going to be more challenging to jump onto that faster and faster moving Ferris wheel. Next, please. So how does this impact things? Each of these roles we can kind of think of as each role is composed of tasks. Tasks can be automated or augmented or don't have necessarily an opportunity to be automated. If we think about this in the role of like a outside salesperson for automation, hey, I can record the meeting, automatically add things to CRM. I can work with my customer to understand what products they should be buying. And maybe there's kind of a AI analyst that helps me figure out what I should speak to them about. But what they can't automate is visiting a customer's office and saying, you have my personal guarantee that things are going to go well, or you can call me, or really some trust establishing items. That's just not there to be automated. Oh, next, please. What we do see is that the opportunity for automation of these various tasks will vary by industry. So some we'll probably see a lot of change in, like banking, software, legal, and others that are not going to be impacted in the same way. Like I think the industrial manufacturing and distribution, there will be plenty of opportunity for automation, but you still need to move a part from point A to point B, still need to have a sales effort. And this will also vary by not just industry, but by the type of role that by the type of role. So there's a lot of opportunity for both automation and augmentation within administrative support and business and financial operations, as well as legal, whereas it's less so when we're thinking about going out and diagnosing machine, even if we have some preventative maintenance opportunities, and then going in and repairing it or transporting an item. Again, some opportunity, but this is different by role. So we can then look at our organizations and consider, how are we going to have this happen? So I think there are about three, let's talk about this and think about it in three phases. In the first phase, this is a way of just getting started now. And it is a lower cost entry point, as well as lower risk. The second is looking at things that will start about next year where, hey, let's consider how we can go about building our capability as an organization and trying some more advanced projects. And then third is really the second half of next year, where what are some of the big bets we want to make, and what are some of the core processes and functions that we may want to modify a fair amount in order to achieve the high ROI that may go along with it. So for that first phase, we want to embrace, educate, and expand. Because what we know today is generative AI is already in use in your organization, 100%. Whether it is banned in your organization or not, for example, I guarantee your marketing organization is using it, and plenty of people are using it to write emails. So you may have noticed how the quality of communication has suddenly shot up. Well, there's probably a reason for that. And so I'd say, find it in your organization and begin to, promote it. And the second is, there are going to be a lot of questions to begin working through. So how do you go about figuring out which tools should I use? What functions should I employ these in? How do I go about describing to my team when I should and should not use this? and so on. So I would say, go about setting up some working groups. Talk through, all right, marketing team, you use it. What do you notice? How do you use it? How does it best work for you? What can others learn from your experience? Because they will need to figure out, and you all will need to establish guidelines for which are the rules of the road. I imagine a fair number of you already have, in terms of perhaps some blanket statements or data privacy concerns, but there's plenty more in order to work through for rules of the road of when you can and can't use it. Finally, educate your leadership team on this. So this can come in a variety of forms. One might be a presentation similar to this, but it could be just as impactful to talk about how are people using it in the organization? How is this changing their job satisfaction? How are they becoming more productive? And then what is the trickle-down impact for things like customer satisfaction and improved other items like on-time delivery, perfect orders, and so on. So in terms of that education, I think execs we've talked about. The second is I've seen plenty of cases where the legal team has said no use of this at all in any purpose. I think those legal teams really should give some thought and begin to learn more about these technologies to see when it is in the organization's best interest to use them, and when it does make sense to follow that legal advice of, you need to stay away from it for this, that, and the other. But chances are many organizations already have guidelines about, data privacy and when to expose things and when to avoid that. In terms of that expansion point, it's formalizing the usage. So if your team is using it, consider what are the prompts that you use? How do you, what best practices are you employing? And then there are some other kind of interesting questions, like if half of your marketing team is using an AI tool, the other half is not, and that first half that's using it has become more productive, how do you then go about measuring and compensating those people's activities? Do you base it on the increased productivity that the first half of your team that is using it? Or do you say the prior expectations are what we're going to hold people accountable to and measure them against? Or, there are a lot of implications that don't have as much to do with technology and far more to do with team management.
We have a question. Steve wants to know, do you have any examples of which companies are already successfully using generative AI with regard to online chat support?
I think that the short answer is I've not seen a company which is publicly talking about their use of it. We know that a number of organizations are using it, but at this point, it's more in a piloting phase rather than a full rollout.
Got it.
So sample use cases, ways you can get going now. For if you have a development organization within your IT group, code completion, testing, documentation. Your marketing team can use it in all sorts of great ways. Your sales team can use it for call transcription, summarization, scoring. HR is probably already using it for writing job descriptions, getting policies together. And I bet every one of these organizations are using it to draft emails. So maybe that's a great area to give some thought about when is it okay and when is it not. The second phase is let's build those organizational capabilities, because really it is going to come down to your organization's ability to change and to transform in order to use these capabilities. That's going to be the difference maker. So In terms of building that organizational capability, you need to think about, do I need to bring on some additional technical roles? And I would say in general, you may on the data side, but I think the non-technical roles are at least as, if not more important. So for project management, we've known about project management for a long time, but it's going to be change management that's going to come in to be increasingly important. And there are all kinds of great resources and organizations out there to help you with change management, but that will be key. Then finally is create a new set of processes around this. Describe and ask your teams, how should it work? Because there are all kinds of tools. We can go next, because there are all kinds of tools out there where we can make great use, but you need to go about figuring out which are appropriate for you all, and then determine how you're going to go about incorporating that. Next, please.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
So there's really no single source to find out about this, or for how to apply this to distributors. We should probably talk about getting that work done, Brooks. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So, if we think about the three types of tools out there, I put them in these three categories. There are those that are like super easy to use, whether it's one of the text models like ChatGPT or Claude or Bard or Adobe Firefly. These are all you have to do is sign up and begin using them. There's no configuration involved. You don't have to get your infrastructure changed at all, most likely, to make use of them. Second is those that have a little bit of config, but ultimately are pretty simple to use. And when I think about a little bit of config, I'm thinking about a week, maybe two. So these are really like the plugins, like WrangleWorks that helps with spreadsheets, Spellbook that will help legal teams. And there are a number of others that really provide great value right out of the box. And then there are those that are configured solutions, like Proton AI, Action IQ. Sounds like also a number of the vendors in the discussion earlier have some great opportunities, both with the minor and configured solutions there. So look, now we're kind of moving up that scale to use cases which are a little more sophisticated, require a little bit more investment, but also have great opportunity for a high ROI. And those on the sales side are more like, hey, which opportunities should I chase? How do I go about saving time where I'm going to convert a PDF into Excel, so that way I don't have to go spend a bunch of time playing with that? Cross-sell, upsell, lots to do on supply chain, pricing, e-com, and customer support for these solutions, which are still largely in the a low amount of configuration to a bit more config. But really, these are areas where I think you'll have many people from your organization, saying that they are able to do their jobs more quickly, more effectively, and they're a lot happier focusing on the parts that aren't just playing in Excel.
So we have a question from Randy. How should organizations be thinking about budgeting to learn and begin to apply? Using the example that you just highlighted, or said differently, is getting started a $50,000 venture or $250,000 venture? Any guidance is helpful.
Yeah. So I would really begin thinking about this by quarter. Next quarter should be information gathering and signing up for a number of subscriptions to try out these tools. Great type of information gathering is attending conferences, attending workshops, webinars, and really being deliberate about this, not just kind of reading headlines. Now, you all as leaders will need to go about putting on the nice shirt or skirt and heading out to go talk to the constituencies that you have about what your plan is going to be. Your employees may have some fear around this. You talk to them about what you plan to go do. Customers may have some very different expectations as well of how you're going to reduce the friction in their ordering process or product finding. And similarly, suppliers may be changing the way that they interact with you, or you might want to go about telling them, hey, here is what I expect from you going forward. So the quick aside there is like, in case of my lawyer, I always say, hey, I expect you to use AI tools out there and not just run the clock. So for phase 3, we can go and go next. There are plenty of opportunities out there. We need to go about mapping what the opportunities are for your organization, and then also what the cost savings will be. And on the risk side, there will certainly be competitive challenges and potentially, I think a little bit further down the road, call it a year or two, some sociopolitical ones as well. So the organizations, so this is a study that McKinsey did, the organizations that have really focused on being leaders are typically looking at this as ways of using AI to create new businesses, be more valuable to their customers, be stickier to them, and offer products and services that their competition can't, rather than just using this as a way of cost savings. Let's go and go next. So this is also an opportunity to go about grounding your company and aligning it with its values, that it will, that as you go down this journey and have changes to your processes, potentially your value statement and your organization, you will likely need to reach back and think about, who am I as an organization? What are my values? How do I treat my customers and suppliers and customers? And what is that primary differentiation that I'm offering into the market?
Hey, we have a question I want to squeeze in here because it's a good one. Randy says, what are your thoughts on Microsoft's Enterprise Copilot? Are there any companies in the industrial markets that are early adopters of Microsoft Copilot that you know of?
Not on that side. I have heard about Dell being an early adopter, and there's going to be plenty of opportunity there for you all. But each day is going to be a challenge for a new opportunity, and as I say, and a new challenge. So, I would really recommend for you all to dive deep on learning and just trying things out and building that organizational capability.
Fantastic. And so your email is brooks.hamilton@strategyadvisors.ai, brooks.hamilton@strategyadvisors.ai. Your website is strategyadvisors.ai, and your phone number is on there. So as well as the QR code, which I guess gives you, takes you to the site, I assume. Yeah, thanks. This was really a tremendous just download of incredible information. I do want to, if you would hang on for just a minute, I want to tell you about a couple of upcoming programs. On November 14th, we have a distribution executive panel called Using Marketing to Drive Sales. We'll be featuring Sheila Hernandez, who's VP of Marketing and Supplier Relationships for Summit Electric Supply, Cynthia Lovely, who's Director of Marketing at Chadwell Supply, and Susan Merlot, who's the founder of the Digital Distributor Program. That's brought to you by White Cup. And then on December 6th, we have our annual State of Distributors Shopping and Buying. And this year, it'll be a lot of information about how AI is changing shopping and buying. That's the best practice series. That'll be brought to you by Epicor and White Cup. We have some questions we're not going to get to at the end. I would encourage you to reach out to Brooks if you have those questions, or reach out to me on distributionstrategy.com. Brooks, my friend, fantastic job. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with our audience.
Ton of fun. Thank you.
All right. Safe travels home from Germany, Brooks. And thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time on one of the Distribution Strategy Group's programs. Goodbye now.